listen to this because I wish I would have known this before I started working at Publix. Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm so happy you've clicked on today's video. The topic I will be covering in today's video is how to avoid and prevent drama in your workplace. And this video is honestly so important because a lot of people have been telling me that they got hired after seeing some of my more helpful videos, as in how to get hired at Publix, how to ace the Publix interview, all those things. But I also wanted to orient you guys on what to expect once you're in the company, or some knowledge for you to have early on if you just started working in the company. If you've been in the company for a while now and you're watching this video, you know what I'm talking about. With every good in this life, there also comes some bad. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a bad, but this is something that you should definitely have in the back of your head, especially like if this is your first job, if you're a teenager, if this is your first real job, or if you just don't know what to expect because you were working at, you know, someone's garage before and now you're working into like a big company. Please listen to this because I wish I would have known this before I started working at Publix, and I didn't. So I mean, I kind of stayed out of trouble in that sense, but I really want you guys to listen. Like, I always do videos to help you guys out, and I'm telling you guys, I'm putting you onto some real game right here, because this is a big factor that if you handle stuff the wrong way, you could lose your job, you could mess up your reputation, like a lot of stuff can happen. So if you want to see this video, just keep on watching. That way you can be aware of what to expect. If you already started in the company, you're right on time. If you just started in this company, you're right on time. I got you. If you're not sure about applying, or if you just applied, I also got you, because this is knowledge that you should know for anywhere that you work, for any company that you work at, for any place that you go to. So I got y'all. And if you've been in this company, all right, we're gonna switch it up. If you were involved in drama, now you're gonna learn how to stay out of drama. All right, let's get into it. Right before I get started, like, comment, and subscribe, because help your girl out, okay? All right, let's get into it. So first thing is first, there is a big difference between good attention and bad attention. All right, you don't want to be known as like, yeah, everyone in the store knows her because she's like something bad. You don't want to be known for that. You want to be, yeah, everybody knows her because she works really well, she's, you know, dresses really nice. You want to attract positive attention. You don't want to be attracting negative attention. A lot of times people kind of like confuse both of them, and if you are attracting negative attention, people are losing respect for you. People don't really want to talk to you, be your friend, stuff like that. Not that that matters, but still, like in a workplace, in a work environment, you don't really want to be having beef with other people. And if you're attracting negative attention, it's most likely because people don't like you. So that's not really what you want to be in a public setting. Obviously, there's always going to be people who don't like you. I mean, you're not a candy for everybody to like you, but still, if 10 people don't like you and 12 people work at this place, I don't know if it's the people or if it's you, you know what I'm saying? So majority of the people, I feel like you should be able to be like courteous with, you know, like I'm not saying you got to be best friends with these people, but at least be like cordial with them. So that's number one. Number two is, especially if you're full-time or if you just started full-time, you have to understand that if you're working full-time, you're working in a company for 40 hours. I mean, your company basically becomes your second home. And obviously you start seeing the same faces every single day. It becomes hard for you to go out, see other people, stuff like that. So a lot of times people start making their friends, their family, their boyfriends inside of their actual company job, inside of Publix, like inside of any job that you're at. If you put a lot of time and effort, that's all you're really seeing, because by the time people get home, they're tired, they don't want to go out, and that's how other relationships start to occur inside of companies. Now, head managers don't like to see this. They don't want to see the, you know, deli manager messing around with the customer service associate. They don't want to see that, because they feel like that's how favoritism can come into play and stuff like that. And they have every right to feel that way, even though it still does happen. But still, like, that's not something that Publix, at least like my company, like Publix, wants to see their associates doing. You know, they don't want to see a cashier going out with a manager. Like, they just don't want to see that, but it does happen. Anyways, I'll save that tea for a different day. One of my biggest recommendations is to not get involved with somebody at your workplace. I honestly feel like that's an advice that everyone tells you to do. Like, any grown person is gonna be like, don't get involved with nobody at your workplace. But at the end of the day, when you really like somebody, you kind of just throw all those rules out and you're like, well, this person is different. But then your parents or whoever gave you that grown advice and was like, don't get involved with no one at work, ends up proving you right, because usually a lot of relationships, especially at work, result in a breakup, and then it just gets really, really awkward at work. So I don't suggest that you date nobody from work. If you really like the person, Like, you know, I understand it could be hard. I understand, especially if you're young, like you might find somebody else. Do I think that a lot of relationships last when you find somebody that you like at work? No, I don't think they last. It could last, but I haven't seen one. I don't think that they really last. I honestly think that it's like I don't go out, I don't see anyone else, so you're kind of cute, all right, like be my girlfriend, be my boyfriend. Unless that person liked you since like day one, I don't understand how you know, over time, like the person. I just think you get used to somebody and you're just like, okay, let me give you a shot. Like, I don't know, I just personally, me, I haven't seen none of these relationships work. Like, I'm a teenager, I deal with teenagers all day because like we all work together, and none of the relationships that they've had or that I've seen end up still being something, you know. I don't want to downplay it. Some of them have lasted, and obviously it depends on the person. So if you and that person are willing to make this relationship work, regardless if you guys are still working together from here to 2 years, or if you guys are in completely different stores, like you have to make sure that it's not an infatuation because you guys are in the same store and you guys are seeing each other every day and you're just like, oh, you know what, let's just start dating and, you know, messing around and whatever. You have to make sure that it's not that. You have to make sure that it's like, if we switched stores and we moved or whatever the case scenario was, we would still be together because we genuinely love each other. Because that's what a relationship to me should be like. Oh, okay, we love each other, let's be together. Not, oh, I'm used to you, you're like my best friend, so let's just get together. Like, that's just me. So I don't recommend you getting involved with nobody at your work of your opposite sex. You know what I'm saying? If you're attracted to this boy or this girl, I just would not, like, I wouldn't do it. But I understand that when you really like somebody, you're just like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about, this person's gonna prove me wrong. And sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. And when they don't, it's very awkward. It can be extremely awkward at work. And remember, at work, people are there 40 hours. They have nothing better to do than to be in your business and your problems. And people start talking and people get nosy, and it's embarrassing sometimes. And you walk inside of work and people are like talking, like, guys, I'm telling you, I've had problems with managers. Not because I was like with somebody from like a bag or something. I've been knew this, but I had a problem with like a manager over some video or something, and like the next day I walked into work and everybody knew. And when you have a problem with a manager, nobody's supposed to know because that's like sacred information. If you're messing with like a little boy or something, that's bound to like, you know, come out to everybody because people gossip and this and that. But like, I'm telling you guys, like, I don't know if it's just my store, but any problem that anybody has will literally like circle around the whole store in a matter of hours. So I really want to put that out there. So even though like you might think this person is different, if by any chance they don't end up proving you right, if they end up being just like the rest of the people and it doesn't work out, you have to understand that you're still going to be working with this person. And managers don't care that you had a history with this person. Managers don't care that he broke your heart or she broke your heart. Managers don't care that you're simping late at night over this person. Like, they want you to do your job. And you might have some attitude now when you see so-and-so walking down the aisle, and you can't do that because then if a manager catches you doing attitude, they gonna write you up and you gonna get in trouble for what? Like, you didn't mean to have attitude, you're just upset because you're seeing, you know, your ex. So honestly, just like keep those things in mind. Like, you're still gonna have to work with this person, so, you know, watch out. Another tip is, some people are like, okay, fine, I won't date him, but I'm gonna mess around with him. I think this is like the worst one you could possibly do. First of all, I don't believe in that. If you're not gonna date somebody, why mess around with them? I don't understand it. I never have. I feel like you should only be with your boyfriend, but everyone's different, and I have to respect everyone's decision and choice, and I don't judge people for that. But you have to understand that when you mess around with somebody, like I said, people's business spreads like this. So at least when it's a breakup, people are like, oh, so-and-so broke so-and-so's heart, she's really going through it, or he's really going through it, but you know, I'm sure he'll be okay. And people have more sympathy for you and they understand your situation. And managers, you know, even though they don't really care, at the same time they do care. Like, they can understand. I feel like that's the word. They can understand that you're going through a tough time. They might not ask you what it is, because if you tell them, I'm going through a breakup, they're gonna be like, but they'll understand. So I definitely think that that's easier to handle if things do go wrong, rather than you're messing with somebody and then you realize that so-and-so is messing with somebody else, and now you're caught up in this messy situation and your business is being spread all around. Now people are twisting it, because that's the thing, it never spreads around the way it originally came out. It spreads around with like a little bit more, so now it's being spread out. You're being called names, you're being called out of your name, and at the end of the day, there's so many people who are like, I don't care what nobody thinks and this and that. All right. But when you have to go sit there at work and no one wants to help you, or people are making fun of you and this, you're gonna feel it. Like, I know some people genuinely don't care. A lot of people, I think, say that they don't care more than what they do, because I've met people who genuinely like don't care. Like, they don't care if everyone in the room doesn't like that person is like straight chilling. But I've met people who are like, I don't care at this point, and like they're the same person who I can tell if someone said that they were ugly, they would sit there and cry. Like, they really do care. So a lot of people be cap. And I do want to say that if you're watching this and in your mindset you're like, I don't care, just think about it like you're walking into work and people are like judging and stuff, and people probably won't say anything out of respect. I'm not trying to like downplay like your decisions in life, but I'm just trying to tell you, kind of like be aware, because guys, like I've always said, when I come on here and say stuff, it's not because, oh, I think or I heard. It's because I've lived through it, or I've seen my friends go through it, or I know somebody who went through it, like literal visual examples. So here's my example for that. When I first started working at Publix, I was a cashier. I was very quiet into myself because, believe it or not, I can be very shy in a social setting. Maybe not as much anymore because YouTube has really made me become a social butterfly, but at the beginning of my YouTube, journey or whatever, I was very shy. I was a cashier and I was just standing by the register, just being quiet. And I remember this girl came up to me. She was like, hey, you know that girl over there? Oh my gosh, can you believe she's a... And she called her like out of her name. And I was like, because in my head, I just saw you giggling with her earlier today. So in my head, like, I'm very observant. So I was like, all right, if you're giggling with her and then coming to me and talking trash, I can never trust you with nothing of mine, because you will giggle in my face and tell me you're here for me. But then you're going to go to somebody else and be like, oh yeah, Patricia, you heard the new girl. Da, da, da. Like, so that's how you guys got to see stuff. Don't think that that person is just your friend because she's coming to you and gossiping to you about somebody else. The same way that she is talking to you about somebody else, she'll talk about you to somebody else. The same way she's talking about somebody else to you, she'll talk about you to somebody else. So that's how you have to see it. Like, a lot of times these girls is not your friends. They're your coworkers, and you get used to them and you get used to seeing them, and you almost feel like, oh, they're your sisters and this and that. But at the end of the day, you're at a work environment. And when it's time to like snitch, these girls will snitch. When it's time to say, oh, why is this tray $20 short? Who took this money? Or why is this money wrong? Who gave a customer too much money? These girls will point fingers like crazy. And it might not even be your fault. They're going to point your finger, because if you don't know how to defend yourself, you're an easy target. So you need to go into work, like, just like the moral of this story, guys, you need to go into work and just always be presentable, always be educated, always be cool with people. Like, hey, how you doing? This, that, whatever. Obviously, there's going to be times where people want to have a conversation with you, coworkers and stuff like that. And I'm not telling you to be closed off. If they're like, oh, so what school do you go to? You can tell them, hey, I go to this school. I'm in this grade. I like it. Da, da, da. But like normal things. When it comes to personal stuff, you can tell them like, yeah, I live with my mom and my dad, or I live with my dad, or whatever your situation is. But you do not have to go in depth, because the word will come out. And even though you might tell somebody, please don't say anything, you never know. Like, you just met these people. You don't know. So before you put your personal situation out there, I just want to let you know, like, unless you want more people than you thought knowing, maybe you shouldn't tell anybody, because stuff spreads. Also, don't get involved with no boys or no girls, but if you do, then try to just end it like on a good page, so that way there's not like a whole bunch of like shit talking after the relationship. I don't suggest ever, but especially like at work, for you to be messing around with somebody like without even a relationship involved. I don't recommend that at all. And that's just personally how I would handle those situations with coworkers. Now with managers, you're always going to have like one hateful manager, a manager who is bugging you, a manager who might, treat you a little unfair than the rest of the associates simply because you rub him or her the wrong way, stuff like that. Like, it just happens to about any associate at any given time. My time came like a few months ago where one manager is like on me. She was on me. She like hated me. And I was like, I don't even know you. But anyways, when you have managers like that, don't feel bad to speak up. Every single manager has another manager, and Publix is a company that is known where we care and we have to like handle situations and approach the situations the right way, which is the way that it's written in the employee handbook. So if the customer service manager is like treating you bad, don't feel bad to go to the store manager. Or if the store manager is treating you bad, don't be scared to go to the district manager. There's a manager on top of every single manager. So don't think that it just stops at the store manager, or don't think that because it's a manager that they have more power than you and that they can tell you what to do. If you don't like the way somebody's treating you, you need to say something, especially if it's a manager, because your word with that manager isn't going to end well. Why? Because the manager has a bigger title. But then what you need to do is go to the other bigger title and let them know of the situation if it really gets that bad. With associates, if you have hateful associates, ignore them. Ignore the managers if they're hateful to you. Just do what they say. But if they're trying to like tease you and use their power against you, that's when I would say to like tell somebody with more authority, simply because it's, you know, if you tell a manager no, they're going to go and run and tell another manager. So you need to go tell another manager before they do, you know, because sometimes managers do like to use their authority in order to bully some of their associates, or not bully, but in order to kind of like bother some of their associates. So don't let that be you. And as an associate, first of all, associates shouldn't be telling you what to do unless they were like left in charge or something. It should only be managers. And associates should be kind and respectful. If an associate's not being kind and respectful, like I said, yes, you could tell somebody, but that's not necessarily going to fix the problem. I would strongly suggest you take it head on head, like go to the person and be like, hey, do you got a problem with me? But like, don't make it into some big drama. Like, try to stay out of drama. And if that person genuinely has a problem with you and says like, yes, like I have a problem with you because this, that, whatever, you guys can talk it out. If the person's like, no, I don't have a problem with you, and just like doesn't want to tell you what the problem is, or maybe they just don't like you because of the way you look, I don't know, it really does happen. But at that point, like, what do you need to go tell a manager for? You know, at that point, just be like, all right, she doesn't like me. What do you need her or his approval for anyways? Just keep it moving with your life. And when that person is there, walk like you don't see them. Like, or if they say hi, you say hi, keep it cordial and keep it walking. Like, you don't need that person to like you. That's how you deal with hateful managers and hateful associates. You just keep it moving. If it gets to the point where you need to tell a manager, you tell a manager. You have a voice for a reason. But if it gets to a point where you feel like you don't need to tell a manager, you simply can just ignore that person, then ignore them, because at the end of the day, it's probably going to hurt them more. And at the end of the day, you guys all work together, so at some point they're going to need of you. And at that point, you'll be able to decide if you want to help them or not, because they were being rude to you, so it's understandable. Now, the way to attract good attention is to be somebody who takes pride in their work. So for example, like something that differentiates you, you know, you could say like, hey, I'm a tennis player, I'm like #2 in the country, or whatever, like, or hey, I do YouTube, and it stuff that differentiates you, but like in a positive light, not like, oh yeah, I sell this on the side and, you know, do shady stuff. Like, that doesn't really differentiate you. Like, it doesn't set the best name for you. So try to do something positive about yourself so that people can really like get a feel for you, for who you are. And also, the better you do at work, people will know, because the word will go around. Like, when people are like, oh, how's the new girl, your coworkers might be like, oh, she's awful, or your coworkers might be like, she works really, really well. And that word will go around, and when people think of you, they're going to be like, wow, she's a person who works really well, maybe she would do well in other departments. And that's how essentially you end up moving up, you end up moving departments, transferring, managers like you, managers want to give you a raise, stuff like that. So that kind of like covers everything. If you guys want to see a part 2 to this, feel free to let me know. But these are just kind of like some of the basic, most standard but biggest tips I could give y'all. It's literally like the first few things that came to my head. I really wanted to like do this video because I really didn't know this stuff, but I never got into no trouble, thankfully, while I've been at work. And I kind of like knew these rules in the back of my head the whole time, but I could tell I've had a few friendships where I feel like I get too close to the person, regardless of the gender, girl or boy, and then it ends up being like, oh, she says something, and it makes you feel bad because you was thinking the whole time that y'all were like this, and in reality the other person doesn't perceive it as that. So honestly, guys, like, take these tips the best way you would. And I've seen a lot of girls go down with that relationship stuff, with that messing around stuff. Thankfully, like, that wasn't me, but I could see how these girls' names were dragged and they felt uncomfortable. The store, just the vibe, like the girls up in the front, we all were like looking at one another like, oh, who gonna say something? So Definitely, you don't want to do that. You always want to speak your mind. Be somebody who is going to speak, like, don't let nobody belittle you, because that also attracts good attention. Like, wow, like, she's somebody who speaks up for herself. She's somebody who defends her points. She has a strong character, a firm character. Like, that attracts good attention as well. And with that being said, I'm gonna just conclude the video. Like I said, if y'all want part 2, let me know. But these are the basic big ones, and I hope you guys follow them and stay out of drama. Stay away from hateful people in general. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it down in the comment section down below, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Thanks so much for watching, and I appreciate y'all. Bye.